Hi there, we're back for a brand new week. This is the 67 Heel Heel channel on YouTube. Hamish, Jackie, John, you know the script by now. Celtic got a victory at the weekend. That's 2 in a row for anyone who is counting. I must admit, guys, I'm still struggling a little bit to get excited about any sort of victory at the moment, but I'm sure you two will have me singing from the positive hymn sheets. Jackie, tell me what I can be positive about. What did you see on Saturday that was good?
I thought they obviously started the game well. You got the goal early, good header, good for young Welsh getting his first goal. I thought he took his header well. I thought started the game well and in control. Right up to the second goal, I think. Obviously, the turning point, they get a deflected goal, which I still thought was savable. And it just puts that week put you in the back foot for the last bits of the game with the substitutions that he made as well. But it's a victory. It's maybe one that they might have drawn earlier on in the season. They managed to see it through. Hopefully they can get a bit of momentum. I think the pluses are obviously the young ones getting an opportunity, like Welsh coming in at the back again, doing well.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's kind of been a divisive game for many ways for the support, because some people are happy with the result and some aspects of the performance. But as you know, Jackie, there's a few worries popping up again. I thought the way we faded in the last 15 minutes again was just another worry. That's a worrying trend that's been going on for a while at Celtic. And as you know, the substitutions. Were you surprised at Neil's decisions during the game?
Yeah, a little bit. The subs he made, I don't know if it's just to give them a game or give them a minutes. I don't know, but it seems to change the match. It went quite flat. It was kind of just seeing the rest of the game out and getting the 3 points, but it definitely had an impact on the performance. When he made the changes, not as fluent and free flowing as it was before that.
I must admit that kind of passed me by a little bit when I was watching the game. John, what were the subs in particular that kind of frustrated fans?
I think it was just more that Neil Lennon just took this thing at the game. I think people wanted to see Turnbull get a full 90 minutes. Turnbull, I think, has only completed 2 full 90 minutes since he's been at the club, and those were both after the Dubai trip. So people want to see him, start and finish a match. I recognise that he might tire in games because of the energy he puts into it, but then you're leaving Tom Rogic on longer than Turnbull, and people just didn't seem to agree with that. I thought bringing Laxalt on was a bit strange as well. That was what I seen. That was what I had a problem with. What are your thoughts on Turnbull's progress, Jackie? You happy the way he's going, and do you think he needs to just become more of a mainstay in the side rather than one to come off an hour into a match?
Yeah, I think you'd like to get him to complete the 90 minutes, and get a good number of games under his belt. And I don't think you should have any problems with fitness at this level at this time. That was the whole reason the squad going away for that week, was to regroup and come back with a real freshness after Dubai. And it's they should be fit. They should be able to last 90 minutes now.
Yeah. I think I said this on the video at the weekend, but it's a great advert, Hamish, for bringing youngsters into the team. When you see someone like Stephen Welsh performing, you want more youngsters in the team as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just players who have yet to make their name at Celtic. Players like Mikey Johnson, for me, should be getting a run in the team, because I think Mikey Johnson's a player, but I think we're yet to see whether Mikey Johnson can be a Celtic starter. I don't think he's ever really had a run of 4 or 5 games starting every match, and I think we've got a perfect opportunity. If it's a straight up choice between Mikey Johnson and El Yunusi, I think you've got to choose Mikey Johnson, because he's the future of Celtic. El Yunusi's not. Lennon's gone with Welsh now, belatedly, over Shane Duffy. It took far too long, but he's doing that now. He's done it with Greg Taylor over Laxalt. There's other positions that he's probably maybe regressing slightly in. The fact that Brown's come back into the team in recent weeks, and I'm interested to see how that one plays out. But Jackie, you mentioned Dubai there. Does that not look like one of the biggest own goals ever now? I mean, it did at the time, but in terms of the points on the board. We're 21 points now behind Rangers after they dropped point. If we'd have won every game since Ibrox, it would be 12 behind with 2 games in hand. It would be back in our hands effectively. We've really shot ourselves in the foot with that one, haven't we?
Yeah. That we said at the time that they hope they come back. The fact that they're going there, they have to come back and hit the ground running. We know with nobody catching COVID, and it's there's a lot of issues after that coming back, and the results from that coming back as well weren't good enough, and obviously having to play different teams, and it's such an own goal, going there in the first place. But yeah, it's disappointing because, as I said, that I think this season there's been a lot of things that haven't quite worked out the way we want it, and a lot it's been self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Just in terms of obviously Wednesday night against St Mirren. Now St Mirren obviously beat us a couple of matches ago. They'll be up for it again. What are your thoughts on that game? And like Hamish was alluding to there, do you want to see some fresh faces in this team? Do we need to see the likes of Johnston playing now?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll do that. Just now, I think he'll keep going until the league's over. Then they might start experimenting and see if players can handle. I agree with what you're saying about Johnson, because lads like that are the future, and you have to see if they're going to handle the expectations, but also the consistency. To go and give them 4 or 5 games, and then in the 4 or 5 games, how consistent can they be in each one, and make sure they handle playing for Celtic. And that's the consistency side has been the problem this season. The team hasn't been consistent, and a lot of individuals haven't been.
The St Mirren game's interesting for a number of reasons. One of them for me is Jim Goodwin, who I think's doing a great job there this season. Now he seemed to, I thought, have tactically the number of Celtic in the game that they beat us in, and their players in the press afterwards talking a lot about how they've been working on a specialised shape and working on specialised tactics to face Celtic. Are you worried about this game, Jackie? I mean, is this going to be a sign of how flexible Neil Lennon can be as well as a manager at this point?
No, I don't think it's any specific. That St Mirren, I think most of the teams are playing the same way against us, and overloading the midfield and making it narrow. So the width is having to come from the fullbacks, and and a lot of the times we've been left exposed at the back. So I don't think St Mirren's done any different from St Johnstone or Dundee United, other teams that have came and played against us or caused us problems this season. Livingston as well, twice. We drew with Livingston, overload the midfield, make the game narrow. So it's Neil has to find ways to combat that and make sure they're solid at the back. They're not going to get counter attack. They're not going to get left exposed at the back, and be patient. But I think the biggest thing, when they start moving the ball quickly, they look a lot better side. You see at the start against Motherwell, you just feel that when they're doing that and they're on top, like the Rangers game, they have to score. They have to get the goals. They have to, using a lot of energy and desire to win the ball back and get at people and move the ball quickly and get in behind them. But they have to score on top in the games. It just gives the opposition a lift that they don't.
And why do you think those holes are appearing in the midfield, Jackie? Because again, for the Motherwell goal, I know there was a deflection. It was a bit of fluky effort, but they seem to have far too much space to run with the ball. And no challenge on them coming up to the Celtic box. There's been accusations that Scott Brown might be pressing in the wrong areas, or that we're just set up and over pressing almost in areas that don't really make sense. There's no real structure. Would you agree with that?
I think that when you're pressing as a team, everybody has to be connected. From the back, the back 4, the midfield. The strikers are pushing and harassing, but it's very, very difficult to do that for 90 minutes. A real high intensity, and the players, I don't think, are equipped enough to do that high press. And I don't think they're the same fitness levels to do that and handle that. And when 1 or 2 start pressing and 1 or 2 don't, then there's gaps appear quite quickly, and it's easy to play through. When the goal we lost, I thought it was pretty disappointing. As you said, there's a lot of gaps getting into that area. And he does get the break with the deflection, but I still think the keeper should save it.
Jackie, you've been a manager, you've set teams up against Celtic for a bit of a tactical dummy like me. How would you set a side up against this current Celtic side? What are the obvious weaknesses you would attack if you were an opposition manager right now?
Again, probably most of the teams are playing against us would make the game narrow. Force them in there, don't let them in, especially when it's played through, you see Edouard's goal. He just needs half a yard in that space, even though everybody's sort of behind him. It's to force him down the outside. In the worst case scenario, you're defending a ball into your box, which, I would expect my centre halves to go and win it over Edouard in the area, or one of the midfielders. So, and then obviously to exploit them with pace would be between the centre backs. Specifically down one side. If one full back's there, I'd have my strikers when it breaks down, when I'm coming to that pocket, to go and turn and get at them and break with pace, which would cause them problems.
I noticed that the fullbacks, obviously the Celtic fullbacks, had a lot of the ball again on Saturday, and I'm not sure if Neil Lennon just needs to tweak things slightly to try and maybe just allow them to be more effective on the ball, and maybe we don't really seem to be getting to the byline at the moment. That's been a big problem for some supporters, but it's just, I think it's the nature of the way that teams, like you say, they're forcing us inwards, and we only really need to try and exploit them a little bit, and that is a problem. Do you feel like Motherwell at the weekend just kind of let Kenny and Taylor have the ball?
I think it was at times. I agree with you. They need to get to the byline, so it's been cut back or cut across. It's actually strange when Neil was managing when we beat Barcelona. It's like the complete opposite of what's happening with the team just now. Barcelona, you didn't want to let them play through the middle, so you would worst case scenario, you would let the full back
have the ball,
get there and put it in there, and you defend it, then catch them on the break, which we did with Tony Watt's goal. So that's what teams are doing to us just now. Obviously a different level and scale, but a lot of them are quite similar, how they're setting up and how the teams are setting up against us just now.
Yeah, a lot of fans will obviously be pleased to see Celtic winning a couple of games. We're obviously pleased as well, but for me to bring the mood right down, guys, I'm feeling like drop points are around the corner at some stage. Our next 3 games, we go to St Mirren, as you say, go to St Johnstone at the weekend, and then Aberdeen, albeit a struggling Aberdeen, come to Celtic Park, I think the following midweek. Would you be surprised, John, if we won all 3 of those games?
I would be surprised, but I'd also be heartened that it would maybe perhaps finally turn this mythical corner that we seem to have been rounded the entire season. Obviously a little to play for now, but I think there are positive signs in the team. Like against Motherwell, like Jackie alluded to there, like I just think they had the confidence to play a little bit of one-touch football at times. They were passing it far quicker, especially in that first half. And I think, as noted, they were pressing well for the large majority of the game. But again, as Jackie alluded to, it's about keeping that up for 90 minutes. And the drop-off for me in the last 20, 15 minutes was a real concern for me. And it's a concern for me heading to these and playing these teams over the next period. Would you agree with that, Jackie? A bit can maybe concern more drop points are on the way?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to win the next 3. I'd be surprised as well, I have to say. Just the nature of them, where they're going. Normally you would think, right, I still think they'd be strong enough mentally to go and win 1-0 away from home. But just now, I think that's the issue. Don't know what we're going to get with them, with the team and obviously the selections, the team first and foremost, but the inconsistency that they've had throughout the season.
You speak about that strength and that mentality, Jackie, and it's one of the things this Celtic team's been built on over the last 3 or 4 years. They've got over setbacks. This team just seems totally different, and I know they won at the weekend, but the minute Motherwell scored, a game that should have been out of sight turned into a real fight against Motherwell. What does that come down to? And I've got a couple of possible reasons. Is it the defence just been poor? Is it fitness of the team and stamina wilting in the last 20 minutes? Is it the lack of fans affecting concentration? Do you have any kind of thoughts on why we seem to react so badly to setbacks?
I think it's a lot of things. I think obviously fear is the biggest factor. When you lose a goal or the backlash of not winning the matches, you know, that a lot of the players that are in there won't be used to that scrutiny that they're getting, you know, off the pitch. Like you said, I think a lot of them will be fortunate that the fans aren't there because, you know, I've been on both sides of it when it's good and the bad. But you know, I just don't think they're used to that pressure or things not going their way. You know, I've had it our own way for a good number of years now. A lot of players that haven't really tasted the disappointment with the fans since I've been at the club. Now they're like looking around, and usually when things go wrong in a team, the players go into individuals, so it'd be defensively. They start playing their own game rather than working with their structure and their teammates. And I think we've seen a lot of that this season, when individuals have just kind of went into a shell and not handled the pressure, just get back to the basics of defending and being solid at the back.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Yeah, the players are going into their own shell. I mean, Neil Lennon's even alluded to it, you know, as well, that he'd been having to do home visits with players and stuff because people just aren't dealing with things well this season. It's a real concern for me, but I do think the club are taking steps to address that now. You know, you see Frimpong leaving, you see Cham leaving, you see Al-Hamid leaving. Players who don't want to be here, I think, are now starting to get shipped out, and for whatever reason. So perhaps, you know, there'll be a stronger collective mentality going forward. At least that's my hope, Hamish.
Hopefully, yes. Wednesday night, I believe it's an 8 o'clock kick-off, St Mirren against Celtic. Hopefully we can chalk off another win there. It's one of our many games in hand, so we can reduce the gap to only 18 points if we win that. We're looking forward to it. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning into this video on 67 Hail Hail. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you've not done it yet, and we'll speak to you very soon.